Good morning and welcome home to all of you who are coming back to the Blue Hill Peninsula for the summer. It's just so good to see your faces. Carlton, thank you. Thank you for the gift of you. Carlton is such a gift to us, always. Father Brent drove his car from point A to point B for the first time in 6 months. So, yay, again. Tree of Life is up and running full swing and has specific recommendations for items that we might contribute. So those contributions can, if you wish, be dropped off in the coat room. There will be a big tub awaiting things like jams and jellies and diapers and some other specific items that may change from week to week. There are details in the bulletin about that. Adult forum will happen after the service today. And finally, Tyler and Prudy are going to just update us on the refugee situation, and we have good news in that regard too.
Melissa gave me 5 minutes, so I hope I can do it in 5 minutes, because I'm really excited about what I'm going to say. I know many of you have read in the packet or know by our St. Francis newsletter. Many of you already know some of what I'm going to say, but I'm going to fill in a little bit of background and try to encourage you. The exciting news. You may be aware that there's been a newly created GSA Refugee Educational Fund, a fund that provides a tax incentive for givers who support refugee students at GSA. And the question might be asked, well, where are these refugee students at GSA? And that's what I want to talk about. It all started for us here at St. Francis last October, when Prudy Heilner had talked first to Father Brent, who encouraged her to talk to the vestry about a specific Afghan young man and his mother who were trapped in Kabul after the Taliban took over. Prudy knew about him because his brother Hasib had reached out to someone who had taught and mentored him when Hasib had come to America as a student from Afghanistan quite a few years ago. That brother, who has served in our military and is now an American citizen, and has also gotten two degrees from the University of Utah, had not forgotten his old teacher and turned to him for help extricating his younger brother, Mati, and his mother from a very, very dangerous, life-threatening situation. The teacher was now the Dean of Students at GSA, and GSA offered Mati admission. This should help with the visa, if he could get here. That was the first challenge. Extricating Mati and his mother, it seemed hopeless. The family was from a Muslim sect, the Hazari, who were despised and targeted by the Taliban, and Kabul was in chaos. At that vestry meeting, without much hope that it would do any good, I stepped forward and said I would fund his leaving Afghanistan, and if that happened and he could get a visa, their trip to America. It took time, but he and his mother successfully escaped Afghanistan via smugglers into Pakistan. For 7 months, they waited for medical and visa interviews. During this time, Diana Page, a former diplomat and consul, stepped forward and helped Mati and his mother navigate this very, very challenging visa process. Congressman Jared Golden expedited this process and has to be given much of the credit. I'm thrilled to say that Mati and his mother landed this past Thursday in New York City, and on Friday were reunited with their family in Utah. Now the second challenge is upon us, which is really one of the main reasons why I'm speaking today. raising money to fund Mahdi's educational expenses. We knew that anyone willing to write a check for $40,000 for Mahdi himself could not receive a tax credit. But anybody can do that, by the way. Anybody can write a check for $40,000 and not get that tax credit. You can write a check for much more, in fact. But GSA began a refugee educational fund so that anybody who did contribute would get a tax write-off. We also learned that 2 Ukrainian students who have a connection to another teacher at GSA also seek admission to the school, and they're in the admission process cycle. And they too would need full financial support. Thus, the GSA Refugee Education Fund was born. Now, GSA and St. Francis may have begun this process, but we have been joined by many other church and community members throughout the Blue Hill Peninsula and Ellsworth. Blue Hill Congregational, Blue Hill Baptist, St. Brendan's Episcopal, Deer Isle Sunset Congregational, Trinity Episcopal in Castine, Penobscot United Methodist, Brooksville United Methodist, Unitarian Universalist in Ellsworth, the Morgan Bay Zendo, and I think the Reversing Falls Sanctuary. This has become a genuine community effort to work to provide funding for the education of these refugee students at GSA, students who are coming from war-torn countries. Why these students in particular? Why not others from other countries which are also in dire need? As Melissa put it, these are the ones who knocked at our door. These are the ones who asked, was this not God's will? On Saturday, as you see in your program, on Saturday, July 30th, Noel Stuckey is going to give a concert at the Blue Hill Congregational Church, and it's going to be marvelous. And I hope many of you will come. It's a fundraising concert, and you'll encourage others to do. So I hope that many of you will open your checkbooks and write a check to GSA's Refugee Educational Fund, and that all of you are immensely proud of St. Francis for starting this movement. Finally, were it not for Todd Eckenfelder and Hasib, we would not have known about Mahdi and his mother. Were it not for Prudy and Father Brent, we might have missed our opportunity to help. Were it not for the indefatigable work of our 2 wardens, Melissa and Sarah, as well as the work of Lisa Durkee at the Congregational Church, we might not have gotten this far. Were it not for Diana Page and Congressman Golden, the all-important visa might not have happened. And I also want to single out for praise one other person, Kate Morenin. She stepped forward at that first vestry meeting, and she offered her services as a therapist who works with people who have been traumatized. We at St. Francis have much to be proud of. Thanks be to God, or as the Muslims say, inshallah. Thank you.